Hi, it's Julian here from Market Forces. This video is all about the fact that in the last week we've had some really big news to do with banks and the role they play in funding fossil fuel projects that I just want to take a moment to unpack. So we're clearly at a crucial point in terms of dealing with climate change. We've got the Paris talks coming up in a few weeks' time, and it's probably not escaped your attention that all of a sudden every company in the world seems to want to line up behind this goal of keeping global warming to less than 2 degrees. And our banks are no exception. So at the start of the week, we already had 2 of the big 4 banks on record saying they support this goal of keeping global warming to less than 2 degrees. But then NAB and CommBank on Thursday released new environment policies that not only said that, but also acknowledged that they have a role to play in helping to get us to that goal, to limit global warming to that extent. Now, I hope they realise it, but what they're actually signing up to there is really major change. So, how do you tell if your bank is serious about supporting this 2-degree goal? There are some really easy ways of doing that, and you just go back to basics. If we're going to keep global warming to below 2 degrees, it means we are on a really strict carbon budget. There is a very finite limit to the amount of greenhouse gas emissions we can release, and at the moment we're on track to exhaust that budget within the next 20 years. So it's pretty obvious to say if we expand the fossil fuel industry, we're going to blow that budget. It's not consistent with keeping global warming to below 2 degrees. So rule number 1, don't fund the expansion of the fossil fuel industry. In Australia, the biggest threat there is the Galilee Basin mega coal mines, and to their credit, NAB have at least said they're not going to fund Adani's Carmichael coal mine, but even though that's more than the other 3 banks have done, it's still only one project. So we're going to have to keep a really close watch on whether they fund any new fossil fuel projects. The second, clearly we're talking about a massive reduction in exposure to fossil fuels, and we're not just talking about 2050 or 2060, 2080, we're talking about in years, not decades. That's not just fossil fuels coming off banks' loan books, but also these guys are big fund managers as well. You're talking about Colonial, BT, OnePath, MLC. You might have your super with some of these companies. They need to divest of fossil fuels as well. And of course, as fossil fuels come out of their loan books and out of their portfolios, we need to see that increase in renewables to fill the gap. Thanks very much for your support of this campaign, and we'll be back in touch soon.